J. Marks here on behalf of the Cross Timbers Gazette. I'm interviewing candidates, notable people in the community, people that want to get involved, and also a fun place to eat and shop. And today I'm with Chris Bump. Chris is running for town council for the city of Double Oak, or town of Double Oak. City or town? Town. Yep. Sorry, I knew that. Town of Double Oak, and he's here to tell us why we should vote for him. But before we do that, fire mission.
Shot over.
Yeah, that's right. Turns out, through our conversation, Chris and I were in the Army at the exact same time. Both of us were artillery. I was enlisted. He was an officer. So, all the way, sir. That was a lot of fun to get to know you. And you're a West Point grad.
I am, yes.
All right, very good. So you're better than the rest.
Well.
Yeah.
We treat it like a drop of dye in the water. It dilutes. It's hard to tell it's there, but it's different.
Yeah, it is. I have a lot of friends that are West Point officers and all that. But it was fun getting to know you because we literally were in the military at the exact same time, just different locations.
Yeah.
But you're running for town council, and looking behind you, you got a really nice family here, wife, couple daughters. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Yeah. So. I grew up in the military. My family is entirely military. My father and his brother were career military. My mother's brother and brother-in-law were both in the military. That's just kind of life, all I knew, right? Mm-hmm. I went to the academy, chose artillery when I graduated, and had a great time doing that. I would say that from a political perspective, I am a true, not only constitutional conservative, but an actual constructionist. Right, and by that I mean that I believe firmly in the Federalist Papers, right, as to what defines how we should lead and how we should govern, it's part of the reason I'm running now. Is I think that some of our leadership has lost sight of that.
Right. I know Double Oak's been in the news a lot the last couple of years. Yep. Bringing in helipads and shopping centers and things like that have some people concerned. So I know that if you get elected, you'll have your work cut out for you. So Chris, you deployed to combat.
I have.
You commanded an artillery battery, and being a military guy, I know we approach problems a little bit differently.
We do.
So I'm curious, how would you approach some of the problems facing Double Oak right now?
Well, the beauty of it is, right, that I think you basically look at what you're trying to achieve and do the backward math from that. Mm-hmm. I think too many people look at this mountain in front of them and they just start kind of hacking at it, right, without a real plan. So as you know from the military, we don't do anything without crafting a plan first.
Right.
So that would be my first stance. The second thing would be about prioritization, right? I think that one of the things that's facing Double Oak right now is what they're referring to as an economic crisis. They tell us we're running out of money. But when you look at what they're prioritizing, they're trying to spend money across the board. They're buying things we shouldn't necessarily be buying. They're trying to do studies to fix things without actually ever fixing things. So the first thing I would do would be to look at the situation, prioritize what had to be fixed, craft a plan for that, get after that, and as we get close to accomplishing that, we can look at the next one.
Right.
That would be my plan.
That's a great plan. You guys have 6 candidates running this cycle. So
yes.
That whenever I see that many candidates, that tells me that there's something that needs addressed.
That's correct.
What is some of your core philosophies about local government?
Well, since the time I was at the academy, through the Army, and then certainly in my corporate business life, I'm an absolute devotee to the idea of service leadership, right? When I say to people, that the first principle of my leadership is always feed the troops first, mm-hmm. right? Now that, in Army terms means give them chow before you eat. Right. But what it really means is you take care of your people before you take care of yourself.
Right.
Right. To me, that's what every government official should be, is a servant leader, right? I have a degree of disdain for people who want to be in politics because that tells me they're looking for something beyond. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm doing this because it needs to be done. Right. And I waited and I waited and I went to town meetings and I called on the leaders to be better versions of themselves, and that didn't happen. And I waited and no one stepped up, and so the old adage, if not me, then who?
Right.
So I said, all right, I'll step in and I'll do this.
Yeah, if not when, then now.
That's right.
Very good. Chris, what experience do you have with city government, things like that? Have you been on any committees?
I have none.
Really?
Right? I have absolutely none. But nor did our forefathers. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Again, it comes back to the notion of service leader, right? And Basically taking what I've learned from the academy, from the Army, from my last 30 years in business, the last 24 and various degrees of leadership in corporate America, and applying the principles, right? And it's basically about creating a plan, prioritizing, implementing the plan.
If you get elected and you're on council, what is something that you really want to do differently than what's been going on?
Yeah, I want to solve problems, right? I think that there are two very distinct problems within Double Oak right now. The most glaring one is our drainage. Our yard, every time it rains, floods. Everyone down my street has the flooding. When I talk to people, throughout the town, this is a common thread. It's a common problem. I go back 3 years, and we had meetings, and they put together a study, but nothing's been done.
You don't see any tractors out there.
Nothing's been done. In the meantime, we are doing crazy things like fighting over helipads, or getting people zoning that no one else can get, or trying to throw up shopping centers, which I'm not opposed to, but it's like, we got to do it now, we got to do it now, we got to do it now, and there's just no sense of, let's take a break, let's try and understand it, right? And again, that says to me, lack of plan, lack of prioritization, and probably lack of, any mindful way of executing what they're trying to do, other than, kind of cramming down our throats.
What is Double Oak getting right?
Ooh, not an awful lot. Quite,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll tell you this. We have a great police chief and a great crime issue. We have no crime to speak of at all, right? And this is good because it does things like it keeps our insurance down, right? Because we have a low crime rate. It keeps our auto insurance down because we have a low crime rate. I think that my interpretations or my experiences with the fire chief. He's a really high-speed guy. I like this guy a lot. He's impressive to me. I don't think we've had any fires, but I'm assuming if we did, that he's got it wired and everything would go well.
Yeah.
But so in the realm of, we'll call it protective services, police and fire, I think Double Oak does a very good job.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that's a volunteer on your department, and I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Actually. Tell me this, Chris. How long have you lived in Double Oak?
We've been in Double Oak now, it'll be 13 years in July.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good, good. And is it your favorite place you ever lived, or
It is by far
better than Iraq?
certainly better than Iraq. I spent 5 years in England and loved that, but I love Double Oak more for two reasons, right? One, it's Texas, right? Now, I wasn't born here. I'm not a Texan. My daughters love to tell me that they're Texans and I'm not. But I love Texas. I love the people of Texas. I love the mentality of Texas. I love the conservatism of Texas. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is Double Oak is a hamlet, right? Or at least it is today. It seems like our leadership wants to change that. But it's a community where every property is, a minimum of 1 acre, right? So we're not on top of each other. All the lots are basically owned or for sale, so it's defined. We're not going to have any high density growth or anything like that. And so what that says to me is that it's a great opportunity for the town leadership to say, okay, what's wrong? And let's address that rather than creating more problems by trying to make changes.
Right. What is your thoughts on how do you collaborate with fellow council members? I mean, because obviously there's 5 of you on there, and different thoughts, different opinions going around. What's one of your biggest tools for collaboration? Because I know you had to do that in the military.
Oh, absolutely, right? And I am all for collaboration, right? But what I see today, though, is a complete lockstep approach. It's as though, and I don't know, I'm not there, but it's as though the mayor passes down what he wants to do, and all 5 candidates vote yes. There's no debate, there's no questions, there's no, give and take. And the old adage about, if you have 3 people in a room and all 3 agree, well then 2 of them are probably not thinking, right? And so what I want to bring to the table is a very reasoned approach, a very analytical approach. I'm an engineer by training, and I want to ask questions that I think often are not asked, or if they are asked, they're brushed over. And so I would love to collaborate with the current town council. It's my sense that in the past, the town council has been unpleasant sometimes with people who didn't agree with them. I would hope to get past that. You know, what I do have in common with the town council, at least I believe, is that I am very conservative. I'll put my conservative bona fides up against anybody.
Yeah.
So I would approach it as, you know, can't we be a better version of ourselves and try and solve problems?
Right.
That would be my approach.
Good. How are you about communicating with your constituents?
This is a very core belief in what I'm doing here. And it comes back to the notion of service leader and the idea of feeding the troops first. The constituents are the people we should be caring about more than anything, right? If we're a true servant leader, we're thinking only of the constituents. You know, and I've been to town councils where I've watched, you know, I'm not going to say his name, but one town council member literally asked the mayor, you know, can we get to a place where we're not keeping score, where no one's asking us things or saying things about us they don't like? I'm like, geez, guys, the moment we go there, we're no longer serving the constituents. We're doing what we want to do, right? I'm vehemently opposed to that mindset. So from my perspective, the constituents, what I promise is absolute transparency. Right now, this current council has promised transparency and has not delivered on it. They'll tell you they have, but it's, you know, I can speak with affirmation from questions I've asked and the answers I've been given as opposed to what's happened, that we're not getting transparency. I have no aspirations in politics, so I've got absolutely nothing to lose by being completely transparent with my constituents.
Right. You just want to make a difference.
That's correct.
Good. So Chris, I've had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed our pre-interview conversation, talking about some of the same dirt that we've eaten in the Army. That was a lot of fun. But I do have one last question for you.
Sure.
I would like to ask you if you could tell the voters of Double Oak one thing, maybe something we haven't covered, so they could really get to know you, about why they should choose you as their next town council member. Please look into the camera. What would you say?
I would say that in today's world, we tend to categorize people. Right? We tend to say, well, you're conservative, so I can vote for you. You are not conservative, so I cannot. We'll call people rhinos. We'll call people, you know, moderates or whatever. And in my experience in this place, what I've found is that politics makes for very strange bedfellows. I've been interacting with people who are not conservative and talking to them about what it is I want to do and finding that they are very supportive of what I want to do. And obviously, the people I speak to who are conservative love what it is I want to do. So the reason to vote for me is that what you will get is a completely reasoned approach to absolutely everything the town wants to do. I will bring an absolute analytical approach and, again, the absolute promise of transparency and integrity, honesty. I have no aspirations, so there's absolutely no reason for me to hide or make anything up.
Good. Thank you so much, Chris. What is the best email address for you?
So I'm going to speak in phonetics, right? So it's Charlie, November, Charlie. So CNC, bump, like a bump on the head, at verizon.net.
Okay, everyone, you heard him, CNCBump at verizon.net. Send your questions to Chris and find out more about how you can learn about this great candidate here. Guys, I'm Jay Marks for the Cross Timbers Gazette. Thank you for watching. Chris, good luck.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
I enjoyed it.